city in polar bear fever. At the Berlin Zoo, Knut is being presented, a child star who is a bear. For 2 months, the media was only allowed to peer into his nursery via video cameras. Representatives from the world's media have gathered to report about him. At 109 days old, this is the first time we see him live. These pictures are being transmitted live to the whole world. We have 400 to 500 clients worldwide, and today we are doing this live. This is huge. We have got a superstar here.
Knut is extremely well liked abroad. He has become a symbol of Berlin, in the States, for example, and that is why there is so much interest in him. I believe that everyone is fascinated with his story. He is very cute and it's a beautiful story. However, it's a serious one too. It's about saving the environment. And I believe hundreds, even thousands of people are fascinated by Knut.
Where are you from?
From England.
And who are you reporting for?
For the BBC. We are writing an article for the school newspaper.
Knut is even helping to save the environment. The German Minister for the Environment, Sigmar Gabriel, is using the opportunity by sponsoring him. With the polar ice caps melting, Knut, by being cuddly, is warming the hearts of politicians. His fur is actually not as soft as you would think. If you look at him, it's already very robust. His keeper says that things will be fine for another couple of weeks or months. After that, Knut will have reached a size where you better stay outside of his enclosure. Mr. Dörflein says that at some point it will even become problematic for himself. Knut was 7 weeks old when the zoo announced that he was being reared by hand. Curator Thomas Dörflein, employed at the zoo for 25 years, has become his foster father. Knut, a bottle-fed baby. He screams for food every 2 hours. Thomas Dörflein prepares a special type of formula for him. It contains everything a young polar bear needs, and Knut eats everything he can get. He is a good eater. This is Lars, Knut's biological father, born at the Munich Zoo. His mother is named Tosca. She was unable to care for her young. Before she came to the zoo, she stood in the ring and travelled around the world with the German Democratic Republic State Circus. She spent her life in the spotlight and in narrow cages. It was impossible to even think about having offspring. Maybe a hard life on stage has left its mark. Thomas Dörflein in the bear enclosure. It was the beginning of December when Tosca entered a cave and bore twins. And this is where it all began. Tosca sat down on the wall back there and bore both boys. And unlike the years before, she tried to get both babies to nurse. But even after 5 hours, it wasn't working. Neither of her young even tried to drink. But she was trying. His brother then left him, and he crawled over here, and she just took care of him. And I could pull this one out with a pole. 10 minutes later, she carried him around in her mouth and walked through the cages, which are all connected to each other. Then she let him fall also and went back to the cave. And that is how I was able to get at him. I pulled him forward and down under the fence. Today, Thomas Dörflein can enter the cave. It is empty. However, when polar bears retire here, then you cannot even think about entering. Polar bears belong to the most dangerous predators in the world. André Schuler is one of the zoo's veterinarians. He was present when Knut and his brother were saved from certain death. At first, we only saw one bear cub. When Tosca stood up, let Knut fall and did not show any more interest in him, we could see that there was one more bear cub, Knut's brother. He was the same size and just as well developed. For the first 4 days, he did not give you a sick or worse impression than Knut. But then he fell ill with an intestinal infection. That can happen very, very quickly with such a small creature. After a short, very violent fever, his brother died, unfortunately, on the 4th day. Knut survived and spent his first weeks in an incubator, still almost completely without fur and not much bigger than a guinea pig. From then on, Thomas Dörflein lived in his break room. Sleeping on a cot, he kept watch through the night, like a mother with her newborn baby. I always slept here. Sleeping the whole night through was not possible. A bear cub needs its bottle every 2 hours. It is more convenient if you are just next door. Like a person? Of course. He always made himself noticed. How were the nights? They were short. He was always letting himself be known. Even before the 2 hours were up, I did not always get 2 hours sleep. I have to say that it was pretty exhausting at the beginning. Hey, Knut, turn around. He tries to bite, otherwise, no.
Nein.
Tosca recovered quickly from her failed attempt at motherhood. She likes to swim and eat just like before. Now she can give blood. For André Schuler, it is all about antibodies for her offspring, which she has in her blood. This is a new procedure for the Berlin Zoo. This is the indoor pen where we put Tosca under anesthesia after she gave birth to draw a large amount of blood. It took 2 days for her to come out of the cave where she gave birth. We put the blood in a centrifuge to create a serum, which we then injected into the polar bears. We split the serum into enough doses to last a week. This serum was an attempt to partially replace the strengthening effect of breast milk, which contains important antibodies. We wanted to help them to a good start with this injection. And it worked. Knut is growing up in a pen. Here he has his paws full trying to stand up. And sometimes it even works. He can already raise his entire body up. His hind legs still slide out from underneath him, but with a little support, he can stand. It will only be a couple of more days, and he will be running around in his pen. He doesn't think about running away. Lying on his security blanket, here he can relax and train his young jaws. His teeth are starting to poke through. You can see his teeth more and more. The canines in his upper jaw have already come in, his molars are also through already, and most of his incisors can be seen. All he needs are the rest of his canines, and he will have his full set of teeth. And as long as he does not have them, all his food must be specially prepared for him. The recipe had to be created by the zookeepers and the veterinarian. This is the first polar bear that we are raising from the bottle. Of course, we are orientating ourselves on the experiences of other zoos. In the beginning, we used pure poppy milk, a powder that is mixed with boiling water. It was then changed little by little, vitamins were added, then calcium, and then the very important cod liver oil. Polar bear milk contains a lot of fat, about 33% or more. Normal cow's milk doesn't contain that much fat, and neither does the puppy milk Knut receives. That is why cod liver oil is so important, and later meat was added to the milk. The amount of meat has steadily increased. It was made from many things that he appears to like, and as you can see, he is doing quite well. Eating makes him tired. Sleep is very important for someone who wants to grow up to be a big bear. He sleeps a lot right after his meals, when he has used up all his energy eating. Then he likes to sleep a lot and relax. He is very active and looks for playmates during the day, says his adoptive father, Mr. Dörflein. He even tries to make sure that Knut is not alone in his pen, even at night. Besides having a stuffed animal, he hangs up pictures of Knut's parents. In his 7th week, he had to relearn how to drink. It was his first contact with drinking out of a bowl. Not so easy for a little polar bear. We gathered information from other zoos about the development and problems of raising polar bears. We read that polar bears have a tendency to attempt to completely submerge their head in water whenever they see a drop of water or a small puddle. And Knut tried to do exactly that. In the beginning, Mr. Dörflein gave him his bowl with only a small amount of water, and he tried to stick his whole head into it. He needs to learn to drink the water. He choked on it in the beginning, and some water even came out of his nose. Now, on the other hand, he can do it really well. Up until now, Knut has only been acquainted with his bottle. He drinks his special formula. His foster father gives him approximately 100 milliliters 6 times a day, nursing till he has to be burped. He burps on his own. You hardly have to help him. Mostly they come out right after he has finished drinking.
Ja. Nog eens. Het geht noch. Ja.
Of course, Knut wants his stomach massaged, just like every other baby. Even polar bears need to be petted, especially after a hearty meal. Every day he is weighed to see how fast he is growing. One advantage is that Knut can stand inside the vegetable compartment of a refrigerator. Almost, anyway. He is over 5 kilos, 11 pounds. His veterinarian is pleased. Today he weighs 5,200 grams, definitely a good size. He is becoming more rowdy and shows more interest in using his teeth. He chews on everything, whether it is Mr. Dörflein's finger or some kind of toy. At least the canines are through completely. But that is not too bad. They are only a training weapon. The milk teeth, which will be traded for his full set later. That will take time, though. He is still a long way from being dangerous. First, he has to learn to stand on his own feet. He's still having problems walking. He can crawl up and he can pull himself up wonderfully. When you softly place your hand beneath his stomach, he notices. I can push my legs down further. He always pulls himself up in his pen, almost crawls up the walls, then stands and then quite often falls onto his back. Seven days later, in his 8th week, Knut is practicing standing on 2 legs. At least with his foster father's help, it is going quite well. But what's the point? Bears walk on all 4 legs, and in that respect, he is progressing quickly. We are pleased. Day by day, he is getting better at standing on all 4 legs. For a while, he just moved around by wriggling. Now, for example, when he drinks, he just stands right up, and then he attempts to take a couple of steps. Knut is slowly getting the hang of things. A nice drink and standing just go together. Recently, being bathed in light has become a part of his daily routine. Having your own tanning bed at home, what kind of person has got that? Are you trying to turn a polar bear into a brown bear? No, he receives a dose of ultraviolet light twice a day. This is supposed to strengthen his normal immune system. Ultraviolet light is a catalyst for many of the body's different metabolic processes, and he gets it so that he stays as healthy as he is now. And there is still more pertaining to his well-being. Oiling him daily is of course a must. Knut is just like every other baby. The best baby oil is just good enough. His mother would lick him using oil to replace saliva. Oiling Knut is doing wonders for his skin and fur. You can get rid of subtle dandruff with oil, and as we can see, his skin looks good. It is not just about his skin. Even his teeth are taken care of. A bear's strong killer jaws get tried out on his adoptive father. He's so hot-tempered. It is not really serious. In the end, he gets a quick make-up kiss. Knut appears to get along quite well with his foster father. I'm sure that Knut can smell Mr. Dörflein when he is near, and you notice it too. He looks for his person of contact, Mr. Dörflein, and enjoys being around him. A connoisseur, then. What Knut cannot stand are delays at lunch. Whether playing football or at the house bar, one can see, one day he will be really big. When adult bears go swimming, they slowly inch their way towards the water. It is no different with Knut. Once a day, he is put in the bathtub. However, he likes to play instead of being bathed.
Lass mal los.
Man muss natürlich immer aufpassen.
You need to watch out that he doesn't drink his bathwater, since he still has the tendency to pull his head underwater, so that he can't choke, or worse, he is always held. He is never alone in the bathtub. At bath time, you can see the predator in him. He really goes at it. And how does he dry off? Naturally, by shaking himself. But Knut is not allowed to do that. As with every baby, he gets dried off gently with a towel. So that he feels comfortable, he needs to be touched, allowed to run around and to bite.
Of
course, he likes it when you play with him and hug him. Being dried off and hiding under the towel and playing in it are naturally fun for him. The fight for the towel, right out of a child's picture book. Then, a high point. Knut masters walking in his 9th week, and now he is always on the go. The whole room gets explored. Even the camera is studied critically. He is already walking really well. He has great traction on his rubber mat. He is already moving very fast. It is hard to follow him with the camera. He still slips on asphalt sometimes, but he is already well on his way. It is all for his own good that Thomas Dörflein inserts a thermometer into his rectum daily, even if it is uncomfortable. All of the zoo's employees are worried about his temperature. These small guys are always at risk of getting an infection. There have been times when he had a fever, which my colleague and I had to take care of. They happened during the day or at night. We rushed here and stabilized the animal with antibiotics or with IVs. Recently, there has been a lot of fuss at mealtime. The reason is that the final portion of his meal must be eaten out of a bowl. He needs to learn how. Of course, none of the tasty formula is left over. He is even allowed to lick the bowl. And lifting weights. But this barbell is made out of rubber and is only to help strengthen his jaws. Those are the sounds of a connoisseur. Knut is extremely hungry. His foster father feeds him 4 times a day. If only he didn't have to wait.
Knut, komm. Ja, komm. Ja, komm her hier.
His new phase. Knut, now in his 10th week, stands on 2 legs to eat. All made possible by the hearty meals. He is growing and growing. Today, at 88 days old, he weighs in at 6,740 grams. He receives 2 course meals, and the second course is still served in a bowl. However, he needs to work on his table manners. After meals, he is allowed into his new private playground. Here, Knut discovers that a lot of the equipment has a life of its own. His first adventure, climbing into the sandbox and learning that sand can make you really dirty. The main thing is not getting too much in your mouth. Who cares? Most important of all is that he is happy. Even so, Knut is daily walking on foreign ground, an explorer in bear's clothes. With so many new things, it is easy to lose your orientation. But it does not matter. Little bears are not afraid to let go, especially when they are being petted. But isn't it too cold to be playing outside? If it is damp and cold, then we do not let him out. But it has been getting much milder, and it is good for him to be out in the fresh Berlin air at 10 to 12 degrees Celsius weather. And, as one can see, it is good for him and his foster father too. Going from adventure to teddy bear. It could stay this way, but it won't. After playing outside, it is time to get a bath. And then he realizes that he is actually a predator.
Nein! Nein!
That is how Knut's days go. Even though he could play well into the evening.
Knut! Ja, komm, 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 komm!
Knut can also be lazy. He does not always want to get straight out of bed and into the fresh air. Sometimes it is too nasty even for him.
Ja, komm!
At 11 weeks, he wants it all to go his way. The best way to entice him is with food. Suddenly, he wants to get up. When the weather is this nice, why not have a picnic outside? Eating out of a bowl is now easy for him. He just enjoys how his meat-containing formula just dissolves on his tongue. And he is even happier when he gets seconds. After meals, he likes to relax. Knut even has his own hammock, which Mr. Dörflein hung up for him. He really likes to lay in it, maybe because it swings, and he can bite right into all the extra fabric. That's what he likes to do most right now. He enjoys the view from his new treehouse, his first bit of real estate. But even better is fighting with sand. And these dirty games end, how else? Regularly in the bathtub. It is now much bigger, a wading pool outside. And Knut dares to put his head underwater more and more often. Knut, the water rat. After his bath, it is time to meet new friends. These men are his foster father's colleagues, a special kindergarten, 1 child and 2 nannies. But who would not want to be his babysitter? And Knut, all he can think about is playing, and he can hardly be contained anymore. Recently, he needs to be played with more. He has an unimaginable need for movement. You can hardly satisfy him. He hardly gets tired. He naps for a few minutes when he is really tired, but then he goes right back at it. He can now challenge a grizzly bear in his new nursery. It's only a stuffed animal, but he can at least bite it. His favourite is going on expeditions. He is always on the lookout for things he can put his teeth into. Pant legs appear to be tasty, but printed paper is too. Polar bear surrounded by paper. Newspapers are not just for reading anymore.
He
likes to play with everything, but it all gets boring quickly and he then looks for something new. He recently discovered the coffee machine and it's a goner. You cannot say that he is particularly gentle with his toys. Best are things which he should not have. He destroys shoes just like a small dog. After all the ruckus, his keepers see, as though out of the blue, a very sleepy Knut. Running around is tiring, even for a polar bear. Even in his 14th week, he is still weighed once a day. He is already over 8 kilograms. Maybe it's enough for a walk in public this coming week. He is gaining 100 grams per day. In order to gain weight, he needs to receive more food. As of now, he is being fed 190 milliliters of his special formula, and as you can see, he is doing well. But of course, Knut cannot just think about eating. He is the proud owner of his own pool. Knut is learning to swim. Of course, you cannot really call it swimming yet, but there is still time until he will be able to swim freely. First, he has to test the waters. Nicer. Come on. It is better when Knut has solid ground under his paws. Unfortunately, there is nothing solid in the water. Therefore, nothing to bite into. Luckily, his foster father wears a great contraption out of leather and rubber on his feet to train his milk teeth. He is well armed. His first set of teeth is completely through, and he uses them whenever he can, whether it is his foster father's knees, their pant legs, or his toys. He tries to use his teeth everywhere. His fights with the hose are exciting. There is a lot of movement, and he does not hunt it out only at bath time. Whenever there is a hose lying around, during clean-up in the enclosure, or even just a puddle, he jumps into the stream of water or tries to bite the water, and Mr. Dörflein and the other keepers are not allowed to stop playing with him. After a long period of running around, even the strongest polar bear gets tired. This is when he looks at his foster father for comfort. He is not taking on the role of father at this moment, but that of the mother who Knut looks to for warmth. When he has played too much, he then tries to be near to me and to cuddle. It would be the same with his mother. It gives him some peace and quiet and some security. And he still needs that. He is really just a baby. Does he bite even you then? How much does he bite? Well, he examines everything with his teeth, but he has done that ever since he has had them, and he does bite really hard. We all have bruises and cuts from the little rascal. The big day. During the first weekend, thousands visit the zoo to see the young polar bear. Knut for the world and Knut is good are just some of the sayings that Berliners are reciting these days.
Knut is cute, cuddly and white. That's why we want to see him today.
Of course, we are in a state of anticipation and are waiting for Knut.
He's cute because he's so small and cuddly.
Backstage, Knut is still in the shower. Clean fur is a badge of honor. His public wants to see him completely in white as a stuffed polar bear. Take him home with you. His stuffed animal is sold out in a blink of an eye. He has a crowd as though he was a pop star. Everyone is so excited about this bear cub. And this cub is still a tenderfoot. He doesn't like that at all. He always bites down really hard. Clear the stage for probably the best-known polar bear the world has ever seen. The performance is sold out. And it seems as though Knut knows what is expected of him. For example, splashing in the water with surprising results. Knut is in top form. 3.5 months of care have paid off, even for Thomas Dörflein, his foster father.
Knut is cute, but also his foster father is, right? One has to acknowledge his work.
This is a great accomplishment for the zoo. We have the third polar bear being reared in the Berlin Zoo. Between 1986 and 1996, there were 8 polar bears at the zoo. That isn't a lot, considering how long the zoo has been around. Therefore, we are really excited. Cuddly ball of wool. A chubby little baby. It is hard to believe that he will become a giant predator. He gets through the whole exhibition without a problem. Most likely for him it will be a cornucopia of smells, because polar bears have a strong sense of smell. But he plays here in this enclosure with Mr. Dörflein and his colleagues, just as he did backstage in the courtyard of the bear compound. It doesn't even bother him. Does it really matter to him that he has an audience? Maybe. After 2 hours, everything is over. Knut isn't allowed to be taxed too much. But how has our young star experienced his performance? He played throughout the entire enclosure, looked at everything and examined it. He did go in the water for a bit. It was nice for him. Is he so exhausted after 2 hours that he needs to sleep? Yeah, he is exhausted. He needs some peace and quiet now. He will lay down for about an hour, and then he will be fresh and can go at it again, off to new adventures.